This Thrive Loud episode is brought to you by Hinge Consulting, Allscope, and Animoto.
Well, dreams, they feel real while we're in them, right? It's only when we wake up that we realize something was actually strange.
Today on Thrive Loud.
I'm going to start my story by talking about something that will help everybody, and that is a phrase called open with fire.
Get ready to Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. Today on Thrive Loud, we bring you a man who is the president of Success in Media Incorporated, one of the leading business communication and media training authorities in the United States. He's got over 15 years experience. It's probably way more than that because I think he's hiding his age, although he looks much younger than he is. He helps CEOs, business executives, spokespeople, public relation representatives, experts, authors, not just become better communicators, but create real, tangible outcomes. He will make you smile right out of the gate. Thrive Loud listeners, it's been long overdue and much requested. Jess Todtfeld is on Thrive Loud. Hello, Jess. How are you today?
Thank you for having me. Much requested. All of my family members reached out and said, when are you going to be on Lou's show? And now I just went and gave it away.
Yeah, so the Thrive Loud listeners really need to know that that is actually a partially true answer because I actually know some of Jess Todtfeld's family members, and they listen to the program and they go, when are you going to get Jess on? So this is 100% true that maybe I didn't get a text or an email, but I certainly got a face-to-face inquisition.
Now you know,
to make
people.
Sure.
Now you know how the magic happens.
Okay, so for many of you who are familiar with this very dynamic, engaging, charismatic individual, Jess is a guy that walks into a room and lights up the room. And by the way, dresses with pop is what I would call it. It's like, you know, when they say you put something on your outfit to give it a little pop. No, his whole outfit does that, whether it's his sneakers, his suit, his outfits. And everyone who knows him personally right now is shaking their head going, yep, that's 100% true. We want to hear a little bit about how this man kind of came to be. Not all the way from the womb, but I think into this very successful career and this role that you play in really helping people up their game in their communication. So Jess, if you could, I'm going to pass the baton to you.
Wow.
Hopefully you're going to run in the right direction because Lord knows you might go backwards. But I would like you to help us guide forward and share your story a little bit.
All right. Well, I'm going to start my story by talking about something that will help everybody. And that is a phrase called open with fire. And the reason I bring that up, it's actually a quote from David Ogilvy, who is a big advertising guru. And he said, if you're selling fire extinguishers, open with fire. So even, yeah, we got to do it, right? So everybody now, so some people might know me, but there are people who are just hearing about me for the first time. They're like, all right, who is he? But there's this little period of, should I stick around? And I always want to start with something about everybody else. And the point of that is no matter who you're talking to, a big piece of what I do is teaching people how to become more engaging, more memorable, more magnetic. And we want to come up with some sort of fire. We want to find the fire. So that my little nugget to drop as I tell you my little background is always start by talking about everybody else. So that's what I was doing just now and trying to give you that nugget. So it does tie actually into some of my past life, which was I was a TV producer on the national level. Yeah, I worked at ABC, NBC, and Fox. I did that for about 13 years. And it was good. It was terrific at family barbecues, to bring it up.
Hey, he works over at ABC.
Hey, right. But it was exhausting. And, you and I both have kids. And as I got a little bit older, I said, you know what? This was great and it was fun, but I want to do something bigger and, have an impact and help people and, start building my own engine. And what that became was Success in Media, which now reaches out in a bunch of different directions. But basically, I help people to leverage every opportunity, either in front of a group, in front of on a stage, or in front of the media, which plays into my media background, and ideally profit from those opportunities. So it's fun. I get to travel around. I get to be goofy with people like you. We haven't gotten too goofy yet since you hit record. A little too much right before you hit record, but that's okay.
It's just begun. We'll start kicking it off. Right? Yes,
it's going to be out of control.
So, Jess, here's the question. I've seen this, and there is a real skill to being on camera, to being on stage, and tapping into how you communicate that effectively. Talk about kind of getting warmed up. That first bit, a lot of times when the red light goes on in a camera, there are some people who freeze and don't move or feel they have to be somebody else. How do you get people to really tap into their authenticity?
Well, let's face it. Look, speaking on camera is another version of public speaking. It's one with no people possibly in the room and a little light blinking and sometimes more pressure. So, and where's the pressure come from? It comes from us in our own heads anyway. So as far as being more authentic, which really is a big piece of what I do, sometimes people say, oh, well, are you some sort of spin doctor? Are you trying to teach people to be somebody they're not? No, that's the sweet spot is the authenticity piece. And I'll tell you what, there's a Jess phrase that I put out there, and it's a new take on the phrase, fake it till you make it. So the problem with fake it till you make it is the fakery part. Nobody wants to be a fake, right? And, you got to start somewhere. And obviously, if you're feeling, a little nervous, it's something that you don't do all the time. So the Jess phrase is act it and become it. So,
I like that.
Yeah. So you got to start out and when you're starting out and you're going out in front of people or in front of the camera or whatever it is that makes you nervous, you have to just stop and say, okay, could I at least look the part? Could I at least pull that off this first time? And usually we can. In fact, what's worse is what's going on in our heads and in our bodies than what actually is happening, what people will see. And I know this because when I videotape clients, I work with a lot of C-suite folks, a lot of mid-level management. And what I do is I videotape them, whether they're rehearsing a presentation or to be actually in front of the media. And when we play it back, they always say the same thing, which is, wow, that looks so much better than it felt. So yeah, and it's a big, big, important piece of this puzzle because we're in our own heads. We're trying to analyze it while we're saying it. And we think that, it's coming across as terribly clunky and not great. And sometimes it's the case, but usually it's much better than we thought. So act the part. If you act it, you get credit for it. And then before you know it, you become it.
Do you find with the work that you do that you get people that who get on camera and say what they think people want to hear as opposed to maybe what they need to hear? And you know what I mean? In the sense that are they truly coming with a message that really resonates from inside as opposed to saying everything that's going to please everybody?
I think most people are actually using a totally different technique. It's a little shaky in results. It's called winging it. They're like, instead of thinking, you're thinking very logically, oh, maybe this is what the audience wants, or maybe I should be thinking about this. But they're not even thinking any of those things. They're thinking, I'm just going to, bobble around however I do it. And who knows what I'm going to say. And when it's done, it's like a dream. Well, did that really happen? Holy cow. If for them, it could have been a 3-minute interview and, it went fast, but it felt like 6 minutes long for the audience or 60 minutes long because the person was just going in every direction. So the point I will make though, off of what you just said is we should always have a plan. That's the opposite, right? We should always have a plan. So if it's a sales presentation or a meeting or being on camera, we have to say, who is the audience? You and I just had that chat. I mean, you sent me a little questionnaire and talked a little bit about the show and where are we going to go. But the thought is, who's the audience? What would best support them? And then let's create content from there instead of going to what I call the world of everything we know. That would be terribly boring.
Well, let's go into the world of everything we know for a
Okay.
second. I want to take you back because I love asking people with your expertise this related question. If you remember during the entire United Airlines and Southwest Airlines, well, United Airlines debacle of April of 2017,
Yes.
I wanted to know what you felt when you heard the then chairman, currently CEO, but no longer the chairman of United Airlines, when he kind of went on the defensive the day after they dragged a passenger off the plane, knocking out its teeth, and kind of got in front of the cameras. What was your reaction if you remembered this particular moment in time? And I imagine you would because of your familiarity with it.
Right. Yeah. And we see companies do this all the time. We saw the BP oil executive make it about him. It's the second they go into defensive, nobody cares about them, and it's awful for their position, for their job. It's a worse place to go. We need to, they need to, not we. I didn't do anything. I didn't drag anybody off a plane. Anytime that something like this happens, they need to step into the place of the guests or the passengers or whatever they call them, the customer, and think, what would they need to hear? They need to hear somebody who's empathetic, somebody who says, this is not what we do, instead of, we have to pull some people off the plane. I didn't mean pull. You can't, he didn't quite say that, but they have to really think closely. They can't wing it, and you'd be surprised how often they go out and wing it, or they have a handler who says to them, you should probably say this and this. And they say, I got it. I'm going to do my version of that. And I don't know if you remember when Paula Deen had an apology a few years ago.
Yeah.
She was getting into some racist territory, and then she would just record a YouTube video. This is how I feel. And she'd just dig the hole deeper and put it out there, and people would say that's worse, and she had to pull it. So, what went through my head was the fact that we see this pattern being played out over and over and over. So they need to stop. They need to practice. They need to practice and have it recorded, even if it's a 1-minute answer, and see it so they can get out of their own body and say, oh, that doesn't sound great at all. That sounds terrible. And see it, but matched up against the footage of the guy being dragged out. They need, maybe they're in a bubble and they're not watching it over and over like the rest of us did. That thing was everywhere.
It was brutal. And you're right that lack of empathy is scary. And I think I just find it amazing that, in that particular instance, you had somebody who was more concerned about his job, his role in the company, his shareholder, his stock price, versus actually doing the right thing and focusing on the fact that whoever flies a plane might actually be a passenger in the future for your airline. And that by doing what he did, he lost the chairmanship of his company and eventually his. Right.
Isn't it interesting? You can tell he's thinking about his job, about the stock price. And because he's coming from that reactive, defensive, negative territory, it didn't work for him. He still had the problem. It's always about, and this comes up in all the work that I do, it's about everybody else. Like I said before, it's about the audience. It's about the customers. It's about, and the second it becomes totally about you, you're pretty much done. So, it's not good.
I'm going to flip it back. So we get back to you, because I have seen Jess Todtfeld speak, and for those who want to be entertained, it's not only because he's kind of good looking. No, he's a very good.
I look a little Seinfeld.
However,
I've been told
a little.
What's with that?
Well, anyway. You could sound like him too.
I got to make sure not to. Yeah.
We won't edit that part out. We will actually amplify that at the top of the show. So what we've recognized when you're on stage, not only are you comfortable, you have an unbelievable sense of humor. And I was going to ask this question, whether you're conscious of the fact that you're always people can't even believe you're serious because you communicate something sarcastic in a very light toned way of speaking that people actually might miss. Oh my God, wait a minute. He was totally joking. This is a trait of yours, I think, that you have, which is kind of your meal ticket. I
Totally.
wanted to ask, have you known your entire life that you're
Well,
actually pretty
thank you
funny?
very much. And, it did show up early, and I didn't know what to do with it, and I would get in trouble in school. And I had a
Okay.
teacher, I remember a science teacher, he was talking about mackerel, and he was going on. And then the class got really quiet because it was boring. So I just said under my breath, holy mackerel. And they all laughed, and I got detention. So I didn't know what to do with it, is the point. But I did actually, about
Right.
20 years ago, I did stand up for a few years because I was trying to figure out, well, what can I do with this skill here? And what was great about it, if anybody has an opportunity to take a stand-up class or improv, such great skills. And I knew deep down, my goal wasn't to go on the road for 15 or 20 years, which is usually the path if you're going to go into stand-up. And I said, it's probably leading somewhere. So my take now, instead of having to be funny every 6 seconds, which was kind of the model for stand-up, and then also you're lucky if you get paid $50. I spent more money in buying people drinks than any money
Right.
I ever made doing that. And I still had my day job in TV, so it was a crazy juggle. But if you have those skills, if you can, instead of every 6 seconds, if you can pepper in some levity, man, are people happy? And a lot of my programs, I give 1 hour speeches and keynotes, but I have programs that are 1, 2, and 3 days long. So if people aren't laughing and people aren't enjoying themselves, and there isn't that flow up and down of levity and seriousness and something where they can craft, it's brutal. So thank you. It's always nice to have that skill, even if it's gotten me in trouble, but it's a real good one for everybody to try to play with.
Jess, in the spirit of creating real tangible outcomes, I wanted to know, when you do your multiple day workshops or a keynote address, when you're working with your clients one on one in whatever regard it is, what is the thing that gets you out of bed and gets you jacked every day, in the sense that, wow, I love what I do? What is that one thing that you get to see from a result out of one of your clients that makes you feel
I was
really empowered?
just thinking about this yesterday, and I get emails randomly.
It's a good
It's a
thing I
good
asked the
thing.
question today. I could, if I asked it the day before, I'd be
I would
screwed with an
say,
answer, I
hey,
think.
it's nice to leave the house once in a while. No, it's, I'll tell you, when I open my email and I get emails from somebody who was in a workshop or a program, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 8 years ago, and then they say, hey, I remembered what you told us to do. I acted on it. I went and did something with it. And then this thing came about because of all of it. Thank you. Just that means that we made a difference. And I think deep down, it's one of those core human needs up there with Wi-Fi. It's something that we need as human beings to feel like we made a difference, and that we could, the
I
connection
love it.
part, the Wi-Fi.
Hold on, where was it? I think I need like a
I
drum
don't-
roll or something in the background.
I did.
Or a rim shot, because
I
that was
did tell,
yes.
I may have even been my doctor once. I said, I probably should tell you, this is, a serious conversation. I don't remember what I was getting looked at. And I said, my first answer is going to be like Hollywood Squares, and it may not be truthful. And then, it'll be a joke. And then the second, and the guy's trying to help me. He's trying, can I take some blood or something? They actually literally take blood from you in that position. Squeeze blood. So.
I was glad we got a chance to do this today. Oh my goodness. We'll make sure, I might have to montage the
Oh,
way we do all
gosh.
the funny things you say. All right. So Jess, this is a
Yeah.
question I love to ask all the guests on the show. You've got a great career. You love what you do. You're a fun speaker. You're recognized in your line of work as a really true professional for what you do. And by the way, that is true. I'm not just reading that off
Thank you.
the quote that you paid me to say. But the question I have for you is, we all have off days. We have days that we're not truly thriving. So when you personally have trouble thriving, who or what practice do you seek to get yourself back on the
All right, you're
thriving
going to
track.
love this practice. And by the way, all of us, no matter who you think so has it together, they have off days. I have off days. You know, it's usually if the phone's not ringing, meaning like, oh, what's going on here? What's, and which, in one slight turn, new business can be coming through or something can go right. And that's just some of those ebbs and flows. But so here's what it is. We don't normally celebrate small victories. We don't do it. We should do it. We don't do it. So when we were kids and we were in school, we would get a gold star. That was nice, right? Hey, the teacher gave me a gold star. I feel good about myself for at least, 24 hours and put it up on the refrigerator. But we don't get that as adults. Salespeople, they sometimes ring a bell if they sold something. Ding. All right, get back to work. It's okay. It's a step in the right direction, a little anticlimactic. So what I like to do, and I do this in front of groups and audiences, and I tell them about it, and people have been doing this, is I like to do, something goes well, a 1-minute dance party. Yes. And if I had music right now that was not copy protected, I would rock out and dance like a total goofball. Nobody can see me, so I could pretend to anyway.
I was going to make it
I'm doing it.
ballet, maybe with this music.
Whoa! Uh-oh! I fell down.
enough.
I should have prepared for ballet.
You literally do a 1-minute dance out. Is that?
I'm not kidding you. And so now on the tougher days, you would be surprised if you can find something. I mean, it's a version of gratitude, doing something, living in gratitude. You feel so much better, and you're like, lay on the next thing. So I got to do it when we got to get off here. I better go do it. I haven't done one today. If my wife happens to see me do it, she thinks that I've totally lost it and will usually leave the room. But it's fantastic. So I've done it in front of big groups and audiences. And when I ask them how they feel at the end of the minute, people feel amazing. So, we can change the way we feel by the way we act.
I like it. And
act it and become it. Then you can become
happier.
happier.
See, but I do like that. And by the way, look, dancing, it's movement, it's energy, but the celebrating the moments. I'm going to share a
awesome
that we once wrote over here with you called, celebrate the victories. And it is true. You need to, because if we don't, it gets lost in the shuffle. And I think that's such a great point. I do like that story.
Yeah.
Jess, I want to ask you, this is a tough one for you, I imagine, because you've been in front of the camera, you've been behind the camera, working in that consultative way. You facilitate really great workshops and you speak. Is there one component of what you do in the realm of what you do that you like doing the most?
I think it's being in front of people, speaking to people, helping them to achieve something. And I know that that's kind of combining all of it, but somebody was asking me when I wrote my last book, they said, oh, did you enjoy the process? And I said, not really. Why not? You put it out the book and you seem happy about it. Yeah, now I'm happy. And I mean, I wasn't unhappy during, but to just sit quietly and not talk is hard for me. I said that my teachers sometimes didn't know what to do with me. I had a first grade teacher who pulled my desk up against hers and said, "You're going to sit here until you learn not to speak anymore in class or speak so much." So I got the last laugh. Now I get paid to speak.
That's awesome, by the way. I think that's
it is. And you know what? She was actually still one of my favorite teachers. I get it now. You got to be a little mature about it and know when to, keep your mouth shut and open. But that really is that's my sweet spot when I'm out in front of people. And from running a business that part of it, we have to be mature adults, that you may be sitting in front of your computer. You may be writing. You may be reaching out to clients and prospects and, writing emails or doing administrative stuff, maybe paying your taxes. Pay your taxes, people. There's a takeaway. So that, by the way, that's my wife works with me in the business. That's like her least favorite task when she goes in and has to pay our taxes. It's
paying anything is a least favorite activity of mine. Just, I like it the other way around. I
exactly.
like the receiving end. The giving
so
away
I
is
see
always
that more,
tough.
and then she sits there with some of the bills and taxes and the rest of it. But that's one of her sweet spots. She makes sure that we don't get arrested, so that's good. That's always a positive. So yeah, being with people, I mean, you brought it up. Look, I get a joy. When you mentioned the fact that I enjoy making people laugh, I'm going to give you my personal mission statement if you want to hear it. You ready?
I would love.
Everybody should have a personal mission statement, not just a business mission statement. Then you know where your path is. So here's mine. So it's actually, I got it down to 3 words. It took a few years to get this, but for 3 words. So it's teach, entertain, and inspire. And if I'm picking projects or things to do or being on this podcast at this moment, and I feel like I can do all 3, that's a sweet spot for me. That's how I know I'm in the right place. And yeah.
Jess, you know what my favorite part about
What's
really
that?
good guests on this program is? When they come up with the show title in the actual interview itself.
That's the show title.
That's my favorite. It was either going to be Open with Fire or Teach, Entertain, Inspire.
Or it could be Don't Drag People Off This Airline.
I was thinking that too.
Yeah, the other one's too specific. So you're right. Yeah,
I know.
I love that. And wait, and I'm going to add one last thing to that, which is there's a flip side to Teach, Entertain, and Inspire, which is for me, I want to do things that, now the word teach, the flip side, I want to be learning from everybody that I'm with. When I hang out with you, I saw you at a conference just recently, and some of the people we hang out with, I want to be learning. Even the people I teach, I want to be learning. Entertain, I want to find the joy in the people that I hang out with and spend time with. And inspire, I want to be inspired by those people. And I was going back in preparation for this and listening to some of the other podcasts, and there's a lot of great inspiring stuff there. So it's a sweet spot. I'm in the right place today.
And that,
boom.
And that's why you're on the program, Jess, because you fit right in with what Thrive Loud is about. So Jess Todtfeld, let's get all the plugs out of the way. Give us all the locations where people can find you, websites, books, things you want to promote. Obviously, the next time you're in a place that people can hear you laugh.
Just Haagen-Dazs. I'm not going to promote any of my stuff. Buy Haagen-Dazs. They need help. People want to cut back on calories. That's it. Good night, everybody. And we're back to Hollywood Squares. I tell you what, I put it all on one page because people know me for different things. So there's a webpage called bookjess.com, but people on there will get a link to my media training company, some of the keynotes that I do. I recently in the last year started a PR company, a PR agency that is highly curated folks, but it's a pretty cool angle and poised to be a disruptor in the publicity space because I have a Guinness record for publicity. So people have been asking me for years. I finally went and figured out the right model for people to be able to do it. So yeah, people can just go to that one page and see links to everything. It's called BookJess, JESS, like SamSam.com. And there you go. How easy. It's about making it easier.
You bring it all together into one spot, which is how I'd love to wrap up this program.
Oh man,
I am so curious.
I want to talk for another hour.
Jess Todtfeld. You want to keep? We could. We're just gonna have to make it into a 2-part piece.
We'll leave them wanting more then.
If anyone's still listening, aside from your family members, Jess Todtfeld.
My all-time favorite movie. I'm going to give you my first and second. My first is Back to the Future. It's so great. Robert Zemeckis, there are lots of, I studied film and television, so there are a lot of great, amazing films, but time travel, the story, it's got a sweet place in my heart. But the second one is Inception, going into dreams.
Oh,
yeah.
So good. Yeah. When they break through the fourth
dream within
wall
a dream,
or whatever wall
within a dream. Oh, that's, whew.
I got to look this up. I don't know if it won any editing awards when the year that it came out, but if you think about the finale scene when they're in all those different dreams and everything is timed in the way that it needs to be broken out. Well, what a job that must have been. Like from the van falling down into the water and all the stuff going on.
I'll have to look that up. I don't my computer I can't get into my screen locked here, but they must have. It was amazing. And the fact that a dream lasts long, if you go a layer down, like an hour in a dream is 1 minute or a couple of minutes in real life. That whole idea feels true.
Yep. The amplified amount of time in there, you realize where you layer down, you go, it was years versus minutes, which was just such a brilliant concept and the whole idea. But no, it's such a great cast too. Right. I think it gets, Leonardo DiCaprio, I don't think it's
he just got an Oscar, so he got appreciated.
It's a good one.
True.
Yeah, I know, but not for that one. He got one for killing a bear or something.
He finally got one. He gets paid pretty well.
I heard about that. That's pretty good. Jess Todtfeld, as I knew, I'd be like snickering, going, "Oh my God, how many times am I going to laugh during this episode?" And it was many, so it was good. You lived up to your expectations of being a wonderful communicator.
Thank you for having me on one of the coolest podcasts out there, the coolest. It's been awesome.
It's been awesome too, man. And to all the Thrive Loud listeners out there, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're going to see some serious shit.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. And follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Thrive Loud. Or find us on the web at thriveloud.com.